Good morning. This is Biking Viking. How are you doing today? Bougie. We're going to have a coming to Jesus meeting about this tardiness of yours. How you doing, man? I'm kind of late. But I had a little bit of success this morning. So yesterday, yeah, I did not stream, did a spring cleaning run. And by that, I mean I drove a diesel truck and a dump trailer. Uh, Huge dump trailer, actually. I think it's like 6 foot by 20 feet or something, maybe 8 foot by 20 feet. Really? Well, that's excellent. Hopefully, it's for a good reason. But yeah, huge stump from across the street, bunch of debris in my yard, two sheds full of 50 years worth of stuff. You'll be in Arizona. Yeah, not very far. I actually live pretty close to the Four Corners. So where in Arizona? Are you going to be in Phoenix is probably the biggest one? Unlikely, but what the fuck ever. Wow. Okay. Tucson. Nice place. Weather should be good there. Not too deep into spring to get too hot yet. We're still getting snow. Yeah, yesterday we saw a vehicle that had, we guessed, driven over Wolf Creek Pass, which is the nearest pass to us. And yeah, it had a coating of snow on it. Looks like 90, 60 all week. Nice. Yeah, that should be nice at least. My wife has been kind of bugging me to do a little getaway. And so getting this spring cleaning done was kind of part of that, getting all of our chores and stuff like that that will take up a weekend. And we'll plan something probably somewhere warmer. Maybe not as far, maybe not as far as Arizona, but we like to go into New Mexico and things like that. There's a museum that she wants to check out down in Albuquerque. But yeah, I had kind of that success. We did not actually 100% clean up. I mean, I filled this entire dump trailer. That was after emptying it. So yeah, it was kind of a trip. I didn't think that we were going to have that much stuff come out of those two sheds, but they were packed pretty full. And I did end up with some stuff. Matter of fact, let me grab this bucket right out here. Well, I left the bucket. But yeah, got some new decorations now. Here's kind of a cool one. Bicentennial 1976. There's one from yeah. Nice. You're going to be a hotel commuter all week. But yeah, I already have some license plates up in here, and it's become kind of a theme. But I think it's kind of hilarious that somebody just saves all their license plates. I guess I did too. And that's kind of silly for me too. But anyway, the other success that I had was right over here. And I was having some struggles with getting this bead to seat. And I soaped it and I soaped it. And it was just not cooperating. And this morning, I popped the bead off, kind of looked it over. It's like, man, this thing fits tight on here. This should go. Soaped it up one more time and pop. Popped it right into place. So I'm kind of getting not really heat, but definitely some pressure on me to get these bikes done. So that is what I'm going to work on today. I do have some things coming in for kind of my next mod that I'm planning for the toolboxes. Unfortunately, it's not the power bank, but it is the computer built into the top of my box. And let me get this out of the way. And we'll switch our camera here. So yeah, the computer built into this box right here. And what I ordered is, after a lot of deliberation and talking to you folks, of course, I finally decided whether I wanted to have just a regular monitor or a touch screen. I found a decent brand that I trust, and it is a touch screen. It's actually a 10-point touch screen. There was another one that was also a touch screen and even cheaper, but it was only a 5-point touch screen. And if you know anything about touch screens, it's just a little bit finer control with the 10-point. And I figured if I'm going to do it, I might as well do it right. I was actually planning on buying the computer, and I don't know if I've mentioned this, but I'm actually leaning towards the Intel NUC, or nuke, or however you want to pronounce it, NUC, Next Unit of Computing. And it's the series of computers that is like a 4-inch by 4-inch format, so only about that big. And that part I figured is going to be very easy to mount. There's a lot of room inside of here. I'm probably going to have it either hanging across the back or maybe the front of the box. I haven't decided on that yet. But the monitor is going to go where the monitor is going to go. It has to go in up here. So I got a sheet of polycarbonate, and after debating, you know, what size I should get, I ended up with a 2-foot by 4-foot sheet. It seemed like it was the most economic choice for the size that I need. And as you can see, it's actually wide enough for covering up this whole top. And then I'll also be able to actually try this even a few times, you know, if I want to come up with another layer or something like that. Yeah, I've been known to call them and Intel suck. I get it. They're a dinky little computer. You're a tech guy, but you have to admit that for my application, a small computer is enough. You know, and the fact that it's small and doesn't take up a whole lot of room, doesn't weigh a whole lot. They're very power efficient. So, you know, I'm not going to be drawing as much battery as if I, you know, tried to run something bigger. I think it's going to work out for me. And there's some exciting new choices kind of in that same category. The ASRock 4x4s, for instance, that are using all AMD's chips. And AMD is really trying to compete with Intel in that category. And there are things that they don't have, like Thunderbolt. But the more I've checked into that, that was actually one of the things that was making me lean towards the Intel version, is the availability of the Thunderbolt ports. Their mechanical design could use some work. So you're talking about the cooling. Yeah. But so the sun problem. You're saying because it's going to be out in the sun. Well, I certainly could shade it, and I could also, give it some auxiliary cooling flow. Put a couple fans on it. It's not the usual application for these computers, where you want it to be small and quiet and innocuous. Hide it behind a monitor. Take up no footprint, that sort of thing. But you think it's the same BS. But I have I have a background in modding computers, and I know how to monitor them and make improvements to them. Sometimes just changing out the type of mesh that is on the outside of the computer can really help. Of course, in this case, there might be a dust issue because I'll be outdoors. But yeah, I'm just saying I can probably engineer around that. But yeah, I'm less concerned with the type of computer. And, I may even take the approach of, maybe instead of getting like a high-end NUC that's, $600-800 that has all the bells and whistles, and instead go for maybe more of a lower line computer, either from Intel or one of their competitors, and just figure that it's going to get destroyed, and just buy another one. Hey, TGB, how are you doing? Welcome, my friend. So just doing a little bit of show and tell here. I have the lid out of this box because I'm going to be building a monitor into it. And after a lot of looking at monitors, I finally ordered one. And matter of fact, I think I might have said something about it in the Discord. I can't help myself from blabbing in the Discord. Okay, yeah, it's a ViewSonic monitor, a 15.6 inch TD1655 that has the touchscreen. So that kind of decided the mod for me. Last time I streamed, I was talking about maybe putting a piece of Lexan over the hole inside of the lid, and because it's transparent, using that to kind of trap the monitor in there, and then I can mask off the viewing area, and then paint everything else black to kind of frame it in. But with it being a touchscreen, that means that I'm actually going to have to figure out where the screen is and then cut out for it, because you need to have physical contact with the screen. And that's not a problem. I still needed, the piece of plastic large enough for the whole thing. But it just means that I can move ahead with it. And the plan is to take the internal piece of the lid and just cut it out. There's all of these posts that go into holes in the lid, and it kind of locks this into place, and then all around the outside it has little locking tabs, so it just kind of snaps into place, and you have to pry it to get it out. But because it's molded and irregular, what I was wanting to do is just flatten it out, but also kind of to get all of the interior depth of the lid available. And the monitor is, I think, 0.6 inches, so just over half an inch in thickness. And there's almost enough room in here already. But I may have to shave some of these fins right here, little bulkheads inside of there that give the roof of the lid some support. And you can see it works pretty well. There's actually not a lot of deflection, and this piece doesn't really add a whole lot more rigidity to it. So I feel pretty confident in cutting this out and still being able to stack boxes on top of this. Although this is always my top box. So really, when I transport them, about the only other box I throw on top of here is my brake bleed kit, because it doesn't fit anywhere else. And then when I get to my vent, that's when I hook this onto either the side, or there's a place for this size box in the back of the stack. But I think it's going to be kind of cool. I have wondered about this handle. You know, I don't know if you know about this handle, but it's kind of a cool feature built into these boxes. Whoops. That will have to go in the back. Where, you know, if you left it unlatched and then went to pick it up, you could potentially dump out all the contents, but there's actually an internal lock inside of the box, so that if you forget to latch the box, it doesn't fly open. But other than that, the handle is kind of redundant, and so I did think about just taking it off of there, just to remove some weight off of my setup, but I can decide that later. But I do like that you can take the worktop and slide it on top of here. As a matter of fact, I might even come up with my own worktop for this. Maybe just another piece of plastic, you know, with some cleats mounted to it that slides on here, just to kind of clean up the top of it. But then I'd have to have a place to store it. So anyway, let's get back to the bike stand. And yeah, I finally got this thing to pop this morning. Hang on a second. Got myself on the wrong screen here. And so I need to pull out my stuff and get some sealant in here. And there's my jug of sealant. You want to agitate it, shake it up. There's a bunch of rubber particles in here. As far as I know, let me make sure I have everything. Okay, there's my valve core. All right, we're going to do 2 ounces of sealant in here. But yeah, as far as I know, the sealant is made with liquid latex and ground up rubber shavings. And so basically what happens is when you get a puncture, the air rushing out of the puncture hole draws the liquid latex and the chunks of rubber, and the chunks of rubber just kind of dam up that puncture. And then the liquid latex dries when it comes into contact with the air. And that makes the seal permanent. Okay, rag. So yeah, you'll be riding along, get a puncture all the way through your tire. You don't even know it. Oops. You might hear a little bit of air hiss out of it, and then if you keep on riding, you know, that sealant sloshes around on the inside. So it always kind of finds the puncture, and you just keep on riding. So just kind of shaking it around to make sure it coats the inside of everything there. I do have some soapy water. And what I like to do is just kind of spray your rim bead with the soapy water so you can check for links. Hey, Matches, how you doing? And if you see any, just shake it around. And get rid of it. And it looks like it's sealed pretty well. Only 4 hours of sleep. What's going on, man? Now, this is soapy and slippery. And it doesn't appear we have any leaks. So this is ready to go back on there. Boy. Turn off that heater there. And what I'm seeing is this bike is just really dirty. I mean, we asked the kids to clean the bikes for us. And they did a so-so job on this. Not what I would call a clean bike. So while I have the rear wheel off, I'm just going to get at what is hard to get at once you put the wheel back on there. And we'll be pulling some of these components off of here, so I'll be able to do just a little bit more cleaning, but we won't be removing the brake. Which bike computer brands do you know besides Garmin and Wahoo? Well, the thing about me is I'm a Luddite as far as bike computers. My joke goes, why would I use a computer on my bike? I don't want to know how slow I am. And while there's some truth to that, I've had bike computers before by all different brands, Avocet, and you know, Specialized has their own brand, Bontrager. for trek. And I've actually erred towards just very, very simple ones. When we got into the era of basically the same functions as a smartphone, it never really made sense to me to have something that's as smart as a smartphone and also carry a smartphone. So when I have felt like I needed anything more, you know, like pulling up a trail map or something like that, I just use my smartphone. So yeah, I never did buy a Garmin or, well, that's not entirely true. I bought a Garmin and then I ended up giving it to you because I didn't use it. If you didn't know, I sent a few things to Matches in Slovenia to help him out in his earlier days. Little sponsorship, help from a friend. But he's I'm sure moved on from that. I'll consider a bike computer when my bike gets a CAN bus. Yeah, just saying I'm not a big user of bike computers. You know, I haven't really been training for anything like that. I don't really keep track of my mileage or anything like that. And quite honestly, I remember having this thought this morning. It's kind of annoying when people share that information with you. You know, when people come into the bike shop and say, yeah, I put in 36 miles today, I always think, well, I got off with 3 strokes this morning, so beat that, you know. Why are you flexing? I'm just a mechanic. I don't care. You know, it's information that's useful to you, but it's really not interesting to other people. I mean, a certain group of people that are all trying to flex with each other, yeah, I get it. And that's the game I don't want to play, you know, is that, you know, X amount of miles this year and all that stuff. It's like, but how much fun did you have riding your bike? You know, where did you go? Oh, you rode around in a circle. Yes, it could be 33 miles of pure flat or 33 miles of pure elevation and Everesting. It could be, you know, yeah, I did 33 miles. I grabbed onto a car, you know, and let him tow me along. Yeah, the guy would post his runs. Every time he trained up to 5-mile runs, he'd blow out his knee. Oh, man. So it was a fun mock. Yeah. Yeah. Why doesn't Garmin figure out how much fun you had? You know, if they invented a Garmin that measured how much fun your ride was, then I might buy one. You know, because then you could use it to compare and go, well, this ride wasn't very fun, but man, this one over here was just off the charts fun. So I think I'm going to go do that one again because that one obviously sucked. It was no fun. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Now we're going to get the wheel back in there now that I did a little bit of cleaning. Get that through axle started there. Finish it off with a 6mm. Little tip for you there. If you do have a bike with through axles and you don't want to bother with you know, a certain torque value or anything like that, what I would recommend is use your trail tool, whatever your multi-tool is or trail side tool is, to remove the rear wheel and use that to install the skewer. Because that's going to ensure that the tool will be able to remove that through axle, that skewer. Garmin stroke meter. Nice. I like it. I'm just saying, it doesn't really interest me to document everything about my bike rides. At least the information that you can get from the current computers. We'll work on that stroke meter. I'm going to get this out of the way. We still do have to do the front wheel. But I'm not going to do it right now. I want to focus on getting the rest of the drivetrain on this bike, and then we'll mess with that. But we need coffee for this, so first things first. Actually, I think I want to get this inflated fully. So I'm trying to get used to using this inflator. Like I said, it works differently than my other ones. But you activate it. It's set at 18.5. I think we're going to go to 45. And then I can just set it down. Who can clean faster? Let's race. Well, I already removed the chain off of this bike, so that's going to be a losing proposition for you, Matches. Let's get the pedals off of here. We'll get those set aside. Okay, pedals tighten towards the front of the bike, so that means they loosen towards the rear of the bike. Whoa. It's flying here in the shop. Yeah, it's up to 45 PSI. Get this out of the way. That is kind of a nice little convenience there. And being able to just set the inflator. Okay. That's in a bit of an awkward position. Go. Okay. Now that pedals are out of the way, we can remove the crankset. And again, I know it's been a while. For other things, yeah, it's always nice to have a hand free. So these cranksets are actually going to go onto some of the other bikes. And I'm feeling kind of bad because the head coach has been doing most of the work on all of the bikes. I've only done one so far, and then I have two here in the shop. Got to remove retaining nut here. I think that's a 5. This is your little nut that goes into the side of the crank to take up any slack in the bearings. And then typically you can just pull your crank out. If not, a little tap from a soft mallet. Where'd my mallet go? Ah, it pulled out. There we go. And so I do like to put these back together again, just so that you don't lose any parts. And we're going to get these cleaned up, and then these will be going on our middle school bikes. And saving money. Don't forget about that. Well, I didn't finish that statement. I kind of feel bad, but not really, because I'm working a full-time job. The head coach is a realtor. And, you know, it's been winter. Inventory is down. He's not very busy. And the guy has just a lot more time available than I do. And from what I've seen, he does good work. You know, it's not a matter of that. He's rather mechanically inclined. And hey, that's just that many more bikes that I don't have to work on, right? Why would I have a problem with that? Okay. We're just going to set this cage aside. And, oh man, I messed up. I forgot about the one bolt back in here. But not to worry. I do have a solution for that. That is my stubby set. You're using muck-off biodegradable chain cleaner. Well, that's a good one. Absolutely. I like using biodegradable cleaners. I quite often use Simple Green just because it's very readily available. And right now, I don't have much of a bike shop connection. You know, when I had my buddy running the shop down the street, I had a pretty good hookup. I could always get stuff at an employee price because I was doing some of his work. But of course, we know what happened there. He moved away, took off with some of my tools. Matter of fact, recently I talked with his brother-in-law about the situation. You know, how he bailed town kind of with some people's stuff. And he said, you need to just get a hold of him, you know, hold his feet to the fire. And I have a hard time doing that because, well, that was the part that hurt about that scenario, was not so much losing a couple of tools, but just the fact that it was a friendship that ended kind of on a sour note, you know. And I don't know. I don't know if I'm entertaining still being friends with the guy, you know. That sort of thing. I don't know. I guess I'm concerned that it might make me look bad. Are there any advantages with biodegradable regarding performance of cleaning? Not necessarily. You know, a lot of the less environmentally friendly or non-biodegradable cleaners, the reason that they're formulated the way they are is because, well, that's what they need to be, you know, for automotive level cleaning. But you just don't need that. If you're using all bicycle lubricants and bicycle greases and products, you really shouldn't need anything that's that harsh. And also, you know, biodegradable means that it doesn't go, or non-biodegradable means that it doesn't go away. You know, you're putting chemicals out there, hopefully disposing of them properly. But if not, you know, it's toxic. It's bad for you, bad for the environment. And you know me, I'm not a total hippie about all that stuff, but I am concerned about my own health and being, you know, subjected to chemicals that can be harmful. And so that's why I go with all biodegradable and non-toxic cleaners as much as I can. Sometimes you got to break out, you know, the WD-40. Okay. So now we need a bottom bracket tool. And that one looks like it fits. I need a ratchet. And I'm going to extend this out. And because pedals tighten towards the front of the bike, bottom brackets are opposite, they tighten towards the rear of the back, so it loosens towards the front of the bike. There it goes. There's some dirt on there that is kind of grabbing onto my socket. And we'll reverse the direction and again loosen towards the front of the bike. You do want to make sure your socket gets all the way on there. But yeah, I hope that answered your question, Matches. It's not a matter of the cleaning power, it's a matter of how nasty it is. I found that that when the Simple Green doesn't work for me, the biodegradable cleaner, it's usually because somebody has used automotive products on their bicycle. And WD-40 will actually cut through it. WD-40, again, is a great solvent, but not a good lubricant. Oof. Nasty, nasty bottom bracket. Let go of my socket. Wow, this might actually need a little bit of help. I mean, I can just set this aside for now. So let's see if I can do something with my pliers wrench. Oof. I am trying to use the pliers wrench because I didn't want to damage the bottom bracket in case it's reusable again. And those do a pretty nice job of that. Okay, you go back into your home. So we've removed the front derailleur, crankset, bottom bracket. We'll get the bottom bracket shell cleaned up. Want to make sure there's no grit there that's going to get into the threads and make it difficult to install the new bottom bracket. Just going to pull off this old front derailleur cable. And we should have a new bottom bracket here somewhere. That's the last box from the old one. We have a new bottom bracket here. And what's changing is they're going from Shimano style bottom bracket to a SRAM style bottom bracket, which is the dub standard. And so it takes a different size wrench. Now on the last one, we had already determined that it didn't need some of the spacers that are included for different applications. Just the one. Just the one on the crankset. And I'll be saving all these extra parts. And it is marked right and left. Now I said that pedals tighten towards the front, bottom brackets tighten towards the rear. Same thing with the bottom bracket. You want to make sure that it's going to thread in there very easily. If you find resistance, you may have it cross-threaded. But this is turning in there pretty smooth. And it does have a torque rating on it, which is 50 Newton meters. So we're going to need to pull at least one of these adapters off. I have the dub bottom bracket tool. We'll attach that there. And we'll get our ratchet again and set it for tightening this up. And I'm using a digital torque adapter. It is currently set at 54 Newton meters, so I'm going to put it down to 50 Newton meters. And then we apply it. Torque rating. And it just went peep. Reverse the direction. Go to the other side. And it went beep. Do I prefer an already made mixture for bike cleaning or not? Yeah, well, for a lot of the bike cleaning I do, I use soap and water. Yeah, just simple soap and water. So it doesn't really require anything special. And Ben Laden Jr., how you doing? You mean mainly for drivetrain? Yeah, soap and water. That is what I use. And again, if you haven't put anything too nasty on your drivetrain, then soap and water should remove it. Okay, we need the 4.5 millimeter spacer on this side. And then we want to turn this in. I believe this is an 8. We'll get it just snugged up. But again, we're going to have to use the torque wrench. And then this has to get set back to the previous value of 54 millimeters, or 50 more Newton meters. Excuse me. And for this, I need my 8 millimeter socket. I put my soul in the drivetrain. Will the soap remove it? Well, that is pretty nasty. I mean, bleach, maybe? And Naz, hey, how are you doing? We're just going to tighten this down. To 54 Newton meters. I went a little bit past. There we go. And we'll have to reverse our ratchet. There it went. Keep doing balloons again. Right on. And so I can put all this back away. Put this back on my socket rack. And we'll put the ratchet in that drawer too. I haven't done the foam in that one yet. Maybe some fire matches. Heard fire's good for that. And if all else fails, just nuke it from orbit. It's the only way to be sure. Right on, man. That balloon job has to make you pretty happy. You must be a natural entertainer. And Link Hunter, hey. What's going on, Link? Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, there's just certain things that you do, and it doesn't even matter if they pay or not. It's just more about it satisfies your soul. Okay. So we have a crankset installed. We'll have to get that tie off of there. That includes our crank washers. So we might as well just get that taken care of right now. So these go on the pedals because the spindles on pedals are either made out of steel or chromoly steel, which means that they're very, very tough. And the threads on the inside of the crank arm, and the crank arm itself in this case, is made out of aluminum. Even typically on a carbon crank, you will have aluminum threads. There's an aluminum insert molded into the carbon fiber. And what that means is that aluminum is just much softer than your steel. So I always try to grease the pedal threads. You put on a nickel-plated chain, new brake levers, and handles. Nice. Well, that should be a nice upgrade for you. And so what this